My son, if thou be a surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Do this now, my son, deliver thyself when thou art come into the hand of thy friend. Go humble thyself and make sure thy friend. Give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, as a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long would thou keep, O sluggard? Wilt thou arise out of sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as a armed man. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a forward mouth. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. Forwardness is in his heart, he deviseth mischief continually, he soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly, suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. These 6 things doth the I am hate, yes, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. My son, keep thy father's commandment, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Bind them continually upon thy heart, and tie them about thy neck. When thou goest, it shall lead thee. When thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. When thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproof of instructions are the way of life. The law, the way, the truth, and the life. Come on here. Oh, this is something else now. He said, to keep thee from the evil woman, and from the flattery of the tongue of the strange woman. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. For by means of a whorish woman a man is brought to a piece of bread. You're soft. Some of them call them simps, is what he's saying. Now, and the adulterers would hunt for the precious life. Can a man take fire in his bosom, and his clothes not be burnt? Can one go upon hot coals, and his feet not be burned? He that goeth unto his neighbor's wife, whosoever toucheth her shall not be innocent. You stole. Men do not despise a thief, if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry. But if thou be found, thou shalt restore sevenfold, and he shall give all the substance of his house. But whosoever committed adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and reproach shall not be wiped away. For jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content though thou givest many gifts. Proverbs chapter 6. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits, who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Oh, yes. We give God the praise and the glory. Hallelujah. Glory to his holy name. Even that spirit that moved upon the water. That spirit, yes, that spirit is like the wind. We thank the Most High, even the I am that I am. You're walking with Mr. Clay. I'm Mr. Clay. And we're still in the book of 2 Chronicles. And also we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and those of you that have been with us here and there's about, and those of you that are just viewing, and those of you who have just subscribed, as well as those of you who are about to subscribe, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, all praises to the Most High. Yes, we're still in the book of 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles in chapter 36, the last chapter. Yes. It's not the last thing God will say to us, but the last chapter in the historical account of the Chronicles of Kings. Yes. Now, we just read in this Proverbs about adultery. We read about being surety for your friend. In other words, these are things that this psalmist had noticed among the children of men, and that he understood what the consequences would be if we would let things go undone. In other words, if you sinned against a person, tell them you apologize. Go and have forgiveness. Yes, that is true. But doesn't mean go to your enemy that's still your enemy and never asked forgiveness, or you never really begged his forgiveness, or he never begged you his forgiveness. Do you forgive him? That is foolish. You never forgive your enemy that never asked you forgiveness. And if he does ask forgiveness, still, you have to check him that he's walking according to what he has vowed, that he would never do, or she would never do it again. Now, because some of us, can a man be more righteous than God? Is what that spirit asked Job. In other words, we walk ahead of God. Oh, I'm just going to forgive him before that. No. He's talking about your brother. He's talking about those who walk according to the law that was delivered to Jacob, is what he's talking about. He's not talking about the world and everything in the world. See, the New Testament is a separate book. That is another religion. That's a religion based on idolatry, based on the Old Testament. That's all it is. Because there is no one beside God. He said that himself. There is no other God. There is no counselor. There is nothing. God is holy, and God is a spirit. There is no Holy Spirit separate from God the Spirit. No, there is nothing. There is no God. Doesn't have sons. God creates. Men beget with women. Men have sons with women. God doesn't do that. If God did that, why would God even tell the watchers in the book of Genesis not to lay with the children of men? Why would he tell them that? You can tell that these demons, these fallen entities, these Satans, they don't care. They have no preference. They just do something because they want to. This is evident if you really notice and you search the scriptures. They don't care whether just like the men of Sodom, these men were influenced by devils. Did they care about the sex of the men that they have enticed the men to lay with? Yet alone, even the women that they call themselves to be, they just want to experience what men experience. If you really look at it. Then I heard a YouTuber talk about Zechariah chapter 5 and 6, and she called herself Igbo. I was like, well, what is this? She said there were no female angels in heaven. No, there are no female spirits in heaven. There's no male spirits in heaven. We identify them by what they do. They're either nurturing, or they're law-giving, or they're bringing restitution. We men, we compare them to feminine and masculine. That's what we do. But it's just a spirit. He was showing Zechariah a vision, and it appeared as a woman. That's what that was in Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 6. There were no women in God's realm, neither are there men. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of the Most High. No, he did that for Zechariah's sake. Now, why doesn't spirit need breast? Breasts are for babies. See, they say they see women and all this stuff. No, breasts are for babies. Basically, it's even dogs have breasts, and monkeys, they give milk until they're young, and giraffes and everything else. There's a male and female, and there's ways that they can nurture their young of the female species. Yes. So your thinking is warped. You were equipped to do those things to nurture mankind. Period. Whether it's you female or male, then she carries on that tradition. Yes. Now, we're in the book of Second Chronicles chapter 36. And that when King Josiah died, okay? Now we're in verse 1. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, son of Josiah, and made him king in his father's stead in Jerusalem. Yes, and Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign. God already told Josiah what was going to happen, and those before him. And he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem, and the king of Egypt put him down at Jerusalem and condemned the land in 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. Look at that. Condemned the land. Verse 4, and the king of Egypt made Eliakim, his brother. This is a Gentile. This is one who is not of the children of Jacob, not of the blood children. Even you got those that are over there now that are not, should I say, of the seed line of the fathers of Israel. No, you don't. They're scattered. So, and then from there he took Eliakim, note, his brother over Jerusalem, over Judah and Jerusalem, and turned his name to Jehoiakim. So he put his name from the E to the J, or to the Y. Jehoiakim would probably would it be. And Necho took Jehoahaz, which was the king out of the seed line of David, his brother, and carried him to Egypt, his own brother. He took and carried him to Egypt for what? Money. And Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Most High. Don't you know the things that you are experiencing throughout the world is to keep you, old child of Jacob, from experiencing or doing that which is right before the Most High? Because many things you cannot do in your land. You cannot sacrifice your sacrifices. You don't even have the Levitical priesthood. And here you have, it has just gone off. There, see, even the priest line, the Levitical priest line, all of that should be, it's written in oral history is gone. Maybe there's some left where they say in South Africa amongst a certain Levitical tribe, they said it might be. But we don't know this. God did it for a reason. But now you all have turned to Christians. Another religion. This is a religion based on the historical account of Israel and the children of Jacob. Christianity and all its denominations, even Islam, is not what God intended. Regardless of how they try to say, yeah, they close or whatever, but it's not what God intended. God said that I might dwell with you. This is why he give you all these ordinances, laws, and commandments, that you might be an example unto the children of men all over the globe. Because they all know there is one God. You don't have to go evangelizing or nothing. No, that's Christian stuff. That's just Muslim and Christian stuff. They evangelize, they force you, and all these other things. Yes. but not the children of Israel. If you want to come to the children of Israel, you come into the land of Israel and you learn their way to live with Israel and enjoy the God of Israel. Yes. But God, the land, has spewed the children of Jacob out. And in verse 6, against him came up Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. And that was who? Against who? Jehoiakim, the brother of who? Jehoiakim, the brother of the king of Egypt. Yes, his name was Eliakim before that. And Nebuchadnezzar came up against him, sin on sin. The land is ready to spew it all out. Spew this king out, spew it all out. We don't need it. No, no, no. Let the land have some rest now. As God has told them, and he warned David, if your seed would keep my laws, statutes, and commandments, there will not lack a king upon the throne of Israel. That's what he said, but that's what didn't happen. They did not keep his commandments, statutes, ordinances, and laws. So God showed him, he brought an abomination in the name of Jehoiakim, or Eliakim, king of Is. He's not going to let that happen. No. God said, no. We about to put y'all out here. So what did God do? God brought Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar in verse 7 also carried the vessels of the house of the I Am to Babylon and put them in his temple. The same thing, you, the children of Israel, being the vessels of the Most High, carried into all the world to be scattered and never to be gathered again until God is ready. That's you. Now, he says now, and did that which was found in him. He says now, and put him in his temple, in his pagan temple. That's what Nebuchadnezzar did. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and his abomination, verse 8, which he did, that which was found in him, behold, are they written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah, and Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in his stead. Now it's still the nephew of the king of Egypt. Yes. And so you talking about Eliakim. This was Eliachin. This is Eliakim and Eliachin, but they changed their name to Jehoah. Or Jehoiachin, or whatever you want to call it. See, some of you would say Yahuwah. This would be the same thing. They named themselves after the God of Israel. You notice every kingdom names itself after its major religion. That's what they do. If you notice, oh, but you didn't know that, did you? Okay, whatever. Well, all right. Now it says now, verse 9, Jehoiachin was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months and 10 days in Jerusalem, and he did that which is evil in the sight of the I Am. A boy. But there had to be a grown-up or a hierarchy with them that did the same thing, worshiping idols, the Egyptian idols, and all these things. What you call it? The dog of the Mexican hairless dog. That's the oldest dog living, really, in the United States and America and South America. That's the oldest dog. The Mexican hairless dog is still the same dog that the Egyptians used to lead them into. And they did that with. If you go to Mexico, you find out people that have those dogs, they have that superstition that this dog, when it dies and when the people die, they will lead them and guide them in the underworld to the right place. Do some more research on that. You'll see what I'm saying. But anyway, now he did that which was evil in the sight of the I Am. Verse 10, and when the year was expired, King Nebuchadnezzar sent and brought him to Babylon with goodly vessels of the house of the heathen. He went and took some more and made Zedekiah his brother. Zedekiah, the brother of King Nebuchadnezzar, his brother, over Judah and Jerusalem. In other words, we still got some people here, ain't nothing but peasants and stuff, because they done took all the good people See, you have to realize the Western nations were, in their time of slavery, they really didn't have too many scruples, because the fact is, Nebuchadnezzar knew what would help him. Until they realized what they had. They had builders and statesmen and all manner of people that had skill in different practices that were in Israel. And the same thing when they brought them from Africa. Oh man, these people are good at what they're doing. But they had to treat them dumb, because then they would look more wiser than they. Get my drift. But either way, Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years. This is verse 11, yes. 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which evil in the sight of his God. Now they still worship these pagan gods. And humbled not himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of the I Am. In other words, I put you up here. I allowed you to come into my land, this land where I put my name. And now here you are. And you doing these things, he says through Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of the I Am, whatever the mouth of the I Am had relayed unto him. And he also rebelled against the king Nebuchadnezzar. So many of you say, well, Moses never existed. How did Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, exist? And his hieroglyphs and all these other things. I tell you again, the Egyptians of this day, they have erased everything to make themselves seem as though they are the Egyptians of today. And they have taught their children such things, and their elders are the ones who make sure that their children are thoroughly washed in a fake history. Yes, this is what's happening. But now he says, who had made him swear by God? But he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart from turning to the I Am God of Israel. And also this erasure of who the children of Israel and all those things that had to do with them, and all the nations that had to do with the children of Israel, are erased just about. They have been chased into the, should I say, into the Sahel of the middle of Africa, from the Sahel all the way down. And the Western nations said, this is where you come from, all black men. Yes, all men came from that place. Yes, we can say that. But all men, all nations did not settle there. They came through there, but they did not settle. Okay? And the land is not called Africa, because the earth was one earth at one time. What are you going to call that? It was one mass of land. But those are Western names. You need to give your country a name, your continent a name that is indigenous to you. It's time to take back which was taken from you. Anytime you got a name that's given by anyone, that means they are over you. So you have to change the name, just like Land of Upright People. You changed it from Upper Volta to Land of Upright People. You took that from them, but then you start changing the street names, and now you even own it more, because that is from you, not from some outsider who sits at his throne somewhere else and dictates what you do so that you give him money while you starve. And believe me, they do the same thing in the Western countries with the same people, causing all kind of disruptions and, should I say, imbalances in the neighborhoods and all things, and seducing poor men to cause gangs and all manner of evil in these places. If you want to know how your gangs got started, follow the money. Now he rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar. This king, Zedekiah, his brother, his brother's son rebelled against him, who had made him swear by God, but he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart from turning unto the I Am God of Israel. So God said, hold it. Now, that caused him to rebel against Nebuchadnezzar. Moreover, all the chief priests and the people transgressed very much after the abominations of the heathen and polluted the house of the I Am, which he had hallowed in Jerusalem. His name is there. This is what we was talking about. And the I Am, God of their fathers, sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of God, as they do today. Many tell you, turn back to the law. Many go around telling you this 27 letters they're not books, they're letters. This 27 letters are not the historical account of Israel. They're a fake account of Israel, just mixed with truth and lies. That's all it is. But the truth is trying to sway you toward the lie. Have you ever seen somebody do that? Tell you the truth so that you believe a lie. And this is what the New Testament or the 27 letters is about. And then you have some of the books in the Old Testament that they have inserted and twisted to make you think that you have Isaiah 53 for one. To make you think that these things are so. Now in verse 13, he also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar. He did that. And he hardened his heart from turning to the God of Israel. God, I'll make you king. You can be a Gentile king over my land. But you have to do what I tell you to do. You have to obey my statutes, commandments, and laws. But he didn't do that either. He said, moreover, all the chief of the priests and the people, verse 14, transgressed very much after the abominations of the heathen and polluted the house of the I Am, which he hallowed in Jerusalem. His name was there. And the I Am God of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. This is where God wanted to put his name. This is where he put his name. He had compassion on his people. What he says, my wrath is there, but my hands are stretched out still. Come to me, O children of Jacob. The one that he's telling you all of this. But they mocked the messengers of the Most High and despised his words and misused his prophets until the wrath of the I Am rose against his people till there was no remedy. In other words, God's saying, I can't do no more with them. Pardon the loud noise out there. It's the neighbors. But either way. But anyway, he brought upon them the king of the Chaldees, who slew their young men with the swords in their house of their sanctuaries, and no compassion upon the young man, or maiden, old man, or him that stopped for age. He gave them all into his hand. What did he do? He had no compassion. He slew the young men with the sword, and he had no compassion upon the young man, or maiden, or old man, or him that stooped for age, for he gave them all into the hand. God did this. It's just no remedy for them. And all the vessels of the house of God, or the I Am, great and small, and the treasures of the house of the I Am, the treasures of the king and of his princes, all these he brought to Babylon. Yes, he brought it to Babylon, and they burnt the house of God and brake down the wall of Jerusalem and burnt all the places thereof with fire and destroyed all the godly vessels thereof. And them that had escaped from the sword carried he away to Babylon, and there were servants to him and his son unto the reign of the king of Persia. Now it's giving you all this history. What is happening in the land of Israel? Israel already taken. Now you got the two tribes, Judah and Benoni, or as some of you, they call it Benjamin. Already the king of Babylon took them. Now this is where Daniel is coming in, the king of Persia. Daniel, you had all the rest of them here. So we know that the king of Persia, now 21, to fulfill the word of the I Am by the mouth of Jeremiah. Now he was unto what? The southern kingdom, okay, until the land had enjoyed her Sabbath, her rest. In other words, God's law says if you're going to sow your field sow it 7 years, 6 years, and in the 7th year, don't touch it at all. Don't cut the grass, don't do nothing. Just let it grow for a whole year. Leave it alone. Let the land rest. Whatever groweth of your perennials or whatever, let it grow. And whoever wants them, let them come. The animals that want to feed off it, the bugs, whatever. Now, to fulfill 70 years or 70. I'm in verse 21, that last little segment. Now the first year of the king Cyrus of Persia, that the word of the I Am spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished. The I Am stirred up the spirit of King Cyrus of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kings of the earth hath the I Am of heaven given me. Now, he acknowledged that God has given him, although he did not worship the Most High, he knew that the I Am gave him all the kingdoms of earth that were known at that time. Yes. And he hath charged me to build him an house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah, who is there among you of all his people. The I Am his God be with him, and let him go up. In other words, this is the time of Zerubbabel. This is the time of Nehemiah, where they was allowed to go back and rebuild the temple and do those things that were right before the Most High. They was given another chance. Did they fail it? We shall see. Now, this is a time that we call the time of rebuilding. We're getting ready to come into the time of rebuilding. Yes. And how did we get there? And next we get into the book. Yes, we get into the book of Ezra. That's it. The time of rebuilding. These are not in any form or nothing. Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job. Job was before even Moses, or during the time of Moses, when Moses was a baby. He was during that time. Esther, and then you had, that was the time of Persia. So the time Ezra and Nehemiah would say time of rebuilding. God has already torn down and the land has spewed Israel out. Now here we go to rebuild again. To rebuild again. Yes, we're going to rebuild. And with that, if we do those things that are right before the Most High, yes, we will rebuild and we will have peace.
Walk with me.